はい、皆様お待たせいたしました。2番目にお話しされる方ですね。エグゼクティブディレクター。こちらの先生の、お題がですね、教育を通じて福音宣教、喜びにあふれた新たな時代への指導者と聖人を育てるというテーマでお話しされます。こちらの先生のご案内なんですが、そして先生のプロフィールをご案内いたします。先生はエミリー・ロトシュタイン先生です。わずか10年余りでチェスタートンスクールズネットワークは、この種の学校としては最も急速に成長しています。喜びにあふれたカトリック系古典教育高校のネットワークとして台頭いたしました。現在では5カ国に71校のネットワーク校が存在し、さらに数十校が設立予定です。信徒使徒職団体である G 系チェスタートン協会によるこの取り組みは、教皇レオ13世が驚くべき回復力と呼んだカトリック教育の力を見事に体現する、心躍る事例と言えるでしょう。今まさに保護者の皆様は、お子様が高校時代に学業の潜在能力を最大限に発揮し、思考力を身につけ、喜びや真の友情、信仰の豊かさを体験することを切望されています。保護者の皆様は解決策の一役を担いたいと願いつつも、新規学校設立に伴う高い失敗率や法外な運営コストを懸念されています。当ネットワークの短期方式による教育運営モデル、カリキュラム、指導、認定制度により、保護者の皆様は平均わずか18ヶ月、通常の学校設立費用のほんの一部で持続可能なカトリック学校を立ち上げることが可能となります。
In just over a decade, the Chesterton School Network has emerged as the fastest growing network of joyfully Catholic classical high schools of its kind. There are now 71 network schools across 5 countries, with dozens more on the horizon. An initiative of the lay apostolate, the Society of G.K. Chesterton, the network represents an exciting example of what Pope Leo calls the surprising resilience of Catholic education. More now than ever, parents are desperate for their children to reach their full academic potential, learn how to think and experience joy through friendship and the fullness of the faith in high school. Parents want to be part of the solution, but fear the high failure rates and exorbitant operational costs associated with new school startups. With the network's turnkey academic and operational model, curriculum coaching and accreditation, we empower parents to launch sustainable Catholic schools in an average of just 18 months and a fraction of typical school startup costs. So you can learn more in our presentation today. We hope to learn a lot more from Emily about the Chesterton School, which in fact has already opened up in Japan in the past month. It's always September this year. So we're delighted to welcome Emily. And before we start, we're going to show a short video presentation. And then after that, we'll invite Emily to speak. So just one moment, I'll share my screen now and we'll run the video as planned.
ではまず先にビデオのご案内です。
Where are you going to send your children to high school? It's probably the most important decision you'll ever make. It's the formation that takes place at that key moment in their lives that will set the course for eternity. We were looking for a high school for our own children, and we wanted a school that had a rigorous integrated curriculum that was fully and faithfully Catholic and that was affordable. And that school didn't exist. So we started one. We are leading a renewal in education. We're recapturing what Catholic education was supposed to be.
One of the key hallmarks of a Chesterton Academy is the integrated curriculum. They're reading the greatest literature of all time. They're studying the history of the world, the history of our moment and how we got here. They're studying the intricacies of math and science and seeing how the world around them really works. They're invited to think about these great ideas, these ideas about what it means to be a human being, what it means to live in the world in which we are right now. And then they're invited to articulate their thoughts in a coherent, a persuasive, and a charitable manner, and to have that discussion and that dialogue within the classroom.
The emphasis on the arts is one of the things that sets a Chesterton Academy apart from other schools. We require 4 years of fine arts, 4 years of music, and 3 years of drama.
They're taught to perform, they're taught to act on stage, they're taught how to sing, how to paint, how to dance. And all of these are really crucial for a student's whole formation as a human being.
But one of the things that really separates Chesterton Academy is a particular approach to the spiritual side of formation. Now, part of that is the sacramental life. There is daily mass, there are opportunities for confessions. But more than that, there's a concerted effort to help the students connect the rich theology they get from their classes to what's going on in their hearts, how to integrate their faith, to integrate the Catholic vision with their ordinary lives.
When we found out about Chesterton Academy, we were just blown away. My son, Matthew, he literally read the brochure from the beginning to the end when he got a hold of it. And he just looked at me and said, "Mom, I need to go to this school. This is where I want to go to school."
Chesterton started with just a handful of students right here in this church. And now what we have is that the Holy Spirit has multiplied that across the country and even across the globe as Chesterton Academies are starting in other countries.
One of the things I love about Chesterton Academy is just the life and the joy that our students have as you walk through the hallways, as you see them interact with each other.
And there's this particular goodness in all of them.
There's something here that's happening that you didn't think was possible, but you're seeing it incarnate before you.
What's happening now is a true rebirth in Catholic education.
This is becoming the seedbed of renewing the culture.
These wonderful students at Chesterton Academy are our hope for the future.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Neil.
You're welcome,
Appreciate
Emily.
it.
You're welcome. And now I'd like to invite you to share screen yourself and to begin. So thank you very much, Emily, for joining us today.
Oh, great. Super. Well, it's so
you.
great to be with everyone today. Hope for the future. Every time I see that video, people say to me, "I want to go back to high school." So that's That's the goal one day. I am so thrilled to be with you all today, and I'm so excited to share the great hope and the exciting work of the Chesterton Schools Network. It's a global grassroots movement to restore joyfully Catholic high school education in our time. And it's really wonderful to be able to share with you how these high schools are helping raise up a new generation of joyful leaders and saints in this age of AI. There truly is great hope for the future. But before I get into the Chesterton Schools Network, I wanted to talk a little bit about our worldwide lay apostolate, the Society of G.K. Chesterton. And of course, I want to introduce you to our patron, the great English writer and Catholic convert, G.K. Chesterton. Then we'll talk about the remarkable growth of our educational initiative, the Chesterton Schools Network, and most excitingly, how we're bringing that to Japan with Chesterton Academy of Tokyo. And we really need your hope, your prayers, and your help. So let's get started. Before we even begin, I want to remember today a wonderful, wonderful Chestertonian, Father Peter Millward, who lived from 1925 to 2017. And he is our connection, the Chestertonian connection to Japan. He studied classics and English literature at Oxford. I'm told he actually took classes with C.S. Lewis, and he knew Tolkien as well. He moved to Japan, I believe, in 1960, and he was a beloved professor at Sophia University for decades. He actually started the Chesterton Society of Japan in 1966. It is dormant, but it is our prayer that with his intercession, we will see the Society of G.K. Chesterton of Japan open again in these coming months. But that is an incredible connection, and he was very involved in translating many of Chesterton's works to Japanese. So thrilled to introduce you to Father Peter Millward, a great Chestertonian. Okay, well, a little bit about the Society of G.K. Chesterton. I'm actually the executive director of this organization. And we call ourselves the Apostolate of Common Sense. We have a very simple mission, and that is to evangelize through education, inspiring people to live joyful, holy lives, looking to G.K. Chesterton as a model of lay spirituality. And we were founded back in 1966 by our president, Dale Ahlquist. You may know Dale. He had a television program on EWTN for many, many years called The Apostle of Common Sense. And he worked tirelessly for years to promote the writings and thought of G.K. Chesterton. But things really changed for us in 2018 when we were established as a canonical private association of the Christian faithful by Archbishop Bernard Hebda in the Archdiocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis. And our organization represents the worldwide growing devotion to the holiness and virtue of G.K. Chesterton. So people often ask me, how can G.K. Chesterton, who died nearly 100 years ago, still change lives today? Who was this man? Why haven't I heard of him? So I want to share a little bit about our patron, G.K. Chesterton, with you as we get started. So if you're not familiar with Chesterton, he was born in London in 1874. He died in 1936, on June 14th, 1936. And during his lifetime, he was a celebrated writer and speaker and thinker. He absolutely shocked the literary society when he converted to Catholicism in 1922. And what's so interesting about Chesterton is that he wrote about the very issues that we struggle with today: the culture of death, the decline of education, the decline of the faith, assaults on religious freedom, assaults on religion, attacks on the family and on the dignity of the human person. So what he wrote almost seems prophetic when we look back from today. Now, Pope Pius XI called him a gifted defender of the faith. And as I mentioned, we are actually part of a popular movement to see him canonized. So we are devoting our lives to getting to know Chesterton and sharing him with more. And I want to invite you to read more about Chesterton on our website, chesterton.org. We've got a little reading plan for you if you go to that site, chesterton.org/reading plan. Chesterton was one of the most prolific writers of all time. He wrote 100 books. He contributed to 200 more. He wrote hundreds and hundreds of poems. You may recognize the Ballad of the White Horse. Lepanto is another famous poem. He wrote 5 plays, 5 novels, and about 200 short stories, including the Father Brown mystery stories, which you may have heard of as well. But in spite of all of his literary accomplishments, he actually considered himself primarily a journalist. He wrote over 4,000 newspaper essays, including 30 years worth of weekly columns for the Illustrated London News. And if you're wondering where to start with Chesterton, there's really an entry point for anyone. So again, if you visit that online reading plan, you'll find introductory books by Dale Ahlquist, books on apologetics like Orthodoxy and The Everlasting Man. You'll find fiction like the Father Brown stories, essays, biographies, and more. So I highly recommend you take a look at that and learn more about his writings. So people ask, what was Chesterton like? We don't have a lot of video footage of him, but we have lots and lots of photographs. I'll tell you what, he was a 6'4", 300-pound, cigar-smoking, gentle giant. And Chesterton often laughed about his size. He claimed to be the politest man in all of England because he could stand up on the bus and offer his seat to 3 women at one time. So that was one of his famous jokes. And you'll see that Chesterton is so quotable. He was so quotable. Now that you've heard this talk on G.K. Chesterton, you're going to see him quoted everywhere. Here are a few favorites of mine. He said, angels can fly because they take themselves lightly. And that's just a wonderful peek into his great humility. Love his smile. He said, a dead thing can go with the stream, but only a living thing can go against it. Another favorite, here he is with his wonderful wife, Frances. The way to love anything is to realize that it may be lost. So Chesterton, great quotable man, just such a great a guide for a joyful life in the Catholic faith. But there's really a great paradox in Chesterton because, despite his prodigious output and his larger-than-life personality, he actually was a very, very humble man. And his spirituality was marked by great childlike wonder and joy and a gratitude for the gift of human life, the gratitude in the everyday gifts that God has given us. He was able to share the truths of the faith with great charity and common sense, and he engaged his opponents with humor, not hostility. And he debated atheists all the time, but he did so with great humor, common sense, and great joy. He used paradox and playfulness to make his point. He never humiliated others, but enlightened them. And, even when he debated staunch atheists and critics of Christianity, he treated them with great personal affection. And he would go on and famously go out and have a pint with his friends after these debates. His joy was simply contagious and it softened hearts. And I'll tell you, this is exactly what is needed today to evangelize. If you know Bishop Barron in the United States, he calls G.K. Chesterton the saint for the new evangelization because he gives us such a great example of joy and charity and a wonderful example. An example for our children. I wanted to provide that context for you. So why our schools are named the Chesterton Schools Network, why we've chosen Chesterton as our patron. We are so excited to share Chesterton's goodness, his wit, and his wonder with high school students today. And we truly believe that our patron is interceding for us as we work to form this next generation of leaders and saints, disciples, evangelists. This is the future of the church, and I'm really excited to share the story of the Chesterton Schools with you now that you know a little bit about our patron, G.K. Chesterton. So, as you heard in the introduction, in just over a decade, the Chesterton Schools Network has grown to be the fastest growing network of joyfully Catholic classical high schools in the world. And, we really believe we represent an example of what Pope Leo calls the surprising resilience of Catholic education in our time. That's something that a phrase that he used to describe education, Catholic education, in his recent apostolic letter. And we really want to give you the Chesterton Schools Network as an example of that today. A little bit about the United States. There is a crisis, an emergency in Catholic education. Over these past several decades, we have seen a massive decline in enrollment of Catholic students in Catholic schools. So 71% decline of U.S. Catholic students enrolled in Catholic schools. Thousands of Catholic schools have been shuttered over these past many decades, and the effect has been palpable. Today in the United States, 85% of young adults who are raised in Catholic homes leave the faith, typically within 1 year of leaving home. So there truly is a crisis of the faith. There's a crisis in Catholic education. And, what's happening is there still are so many faith-filled families who want an excellent Catholic education for their children, but they're simply cut off from Catholic education. For many, Catholic tuition, of the schools that still exist, it's just way too expensive. Many middle and working class families have been completely cut off from accessing Catholic education, excellent Catholic education. And in many communities, because so many schools have closed, there simply isn't a Catholic school left in that community. And, it is something for great sadness in our time. But we have a wonderful patron. and G.K. Chesterton always says, hope means hoping when things are hopeless, or it is no virtue at all. And there is hope. That hope is coming from the parents. We've seen it with the homeschool movement over the past few decades, and now with the Chesterton Schools Network. Parents are determined to protect their families and to safeguard their children's education. Parents are emerging as the solution for the crisis of Catholic education in our time. And so what we've done with the Chesterton Schools Network, which is the educational initiative of the Society of G.K. Chesterton, is we've come up with an innovative model. We've empowered parents as educational leaders and entrepreneurs. And we've given parents a turnkey academic and operational kit, a model that equips parents to launch affordable Catholic high schools in their communities, typically within about 18 months. And these are very humble, typically schools. There's no technology. We don't have cell phones in the classrooms. They're very humble but warm, family-friendly environments. And they're largely being started by parents. These schools are emerging as joy-filled seedbeds of formation, and they're quite unusual. The students have a very rich intellectual formation, almost a college liberal arts education in high school. They're getting an integrated classical education that passes on the fundamentals of civilization. We're training up strong minds that can use logic, to be able to discern truth and to equip them to actually defend the truth. They're also being formed in character. And so great leadership opportunities for growth in the schools through through the house system. And so our students are growing in the virtues of prudence and temperance and fortitude and justice, which we believe are the foundations of leadership. They're actually helping run these schools, helping these schools flourish. And then, of course, spiritual formation. As you heard in the video, every day starts with Mass at Chesterton Academy. The students have an opportunity to go on pilgrimages and retreats. They have spiritual direction, confession. These are just beautiful, beautiful environments where the students are being educated in the classical intellectual tradition of the faith and being raised as joyful disciples who will defend the faith. And what's unusual about the Chesterton curriculum is that it's very broad-based. It is content-rich. In many high schools today, students get very early on, they kind of fall into specialization. You know, they'll go down the STEM, the math science track, or the art track. Not at Chesterton. They get a full complement of the humanities, math and science, and the fine arts over a 4-year period, a chronological step through history, beginning with the ancient world, working their way up all the way to the modern world. So after 4 years, the students really understand salvation history, where they stand in history. And this broad exposure to many, many different disciplines helps them expand their interests and uncover hidden talents they may not have known they had. So students are reading, 4 years of literature, including, of course, G.K. Chesterton. But they start with the Aeneid, and they work their way up through Augustine and Dante, Shakespeare, lots of Shakespeare, Dostoevsky. They're doing 4 years of history, starting with the early civilization, Greek and Rome, and then going up to the modern world and all the revolutions of the modern world. Philosophy, 4 years of philosophy, which is very, very unusual in the high school setting. 4 years of theology. And then 2 years of required Latin. Many kids go on to study 4 years of Latin in high school. But they're also required to do math all the way through calculus, science all the way through physics, and then quite unusual in the high school environment, 4 years of fine arts. So 4 years of choir. Everybody sings in the choir. 4 years of music. 4 years of art. Everyone learns how to paint and draw, and they learn that art is not a skill that's reserved for the few, that everyone can learn to be a fine artist. And then 3 years of drama. So by the time a student graduates from Chesterton Academy, they will have performed in a comedy, in a play about a saint, and in a full-length Shakespeare production. So it's just an incredible, well-rounded education that the students are receiving at Chesterton Academy. And, what's great about Chesterton is that he reminds us that God is at the center of everything. In fact, the Chesterton curriculum, is centered on the incarnation of Jesus Christ. And Chesterton says you can't evade the issue of God, whether you're talking about pigs or the binomial theory. And I think that's what's great about Chesterton. The kids are able to talk about the faith in every subject. And what we see is the students are happy. When people come and visit a Chesterton Academy, they ask us, why are the kids so happy? Where does this joy come from? And Chesterton says, the one thing that is never taught by any chance in the atmosphere of public schools is this, that there is a whole truth of things, and that in knowing it and speaking it, we are happy. And what is that whole truth of things? That is our Lord Jesus Christ. So in these high schools where students are able to fully live out their faith, and in every moment of the day, there truly is joy. And it's a great antidote to the despair that we see among young people today. At a Chesterton, as I mentioned before, you won't see kids with cell phones in their hands. They're reading books. They're having Socratic dialogue. This is the education, the training that we absolutely need in this world of AI, where young people are being formed to think for themselves, They'll be able to use AI as a tool, but they'll have the underlying infrastructure and knowledge to be able to use those tools ethically and wisely. So a little bit about our growth. Our president, Dale Ahlquist, and a fellow parishioner co-founded the first Chesterton Academy in 2008. And that school started with 10 kids around a single wooden table in a very simple school. And, you know, those first few years of Chesterton Academy were just beautiful. Just a handful of students, you know, we grew each year. And it was just beautiful to see these pioneering families come together and with this experiment of Chesterton Academy. But very early on, we started to hear from people all around the world who asked us, would you help us start a Chesterton Academy in our community? And of course, we said, there's no way we can help you start a school. We are still trying to focus on growing our little school. But by 2013, the demand got so great we could no longer say no. And so in 2014, we opened up a few schools out on the East Coast of the United States, Buffalo, New York, and Rochester, New York. And then the year after that, we had Chicago and then Annapolis. And, you know, we opened up a few additional schools, helping parents in those communities get started. We gave them our tools and templates and the curriculum. And little by little, we got started. But when COVID hit, that was the inflection point. We had so much demand. We were just astonished. Suddenly, parents were really interested in beginning Chesterton Academies in their local communities. So we adopted best practices to meet the growing demand, and we started something called a cohort process, where we're taking, you know, 10 or more schools through an 18-month process to open in an 18-month in that 18-month period. And by February of 2026, we will have well over 100 schools either open or getting ready to open, and we're on track to have 150 schools by 2030. So the growth is something we never ever expected, never planned for, but the Holy Spirit had something else in mind. So today we have about 3,300 students enrolled across the Chesterton Schools network all around the globe, and about 1,200 alumni fanned out all across the world. They're studying in their colleges and universities of their choice. They're getting married. They're entering the trades. They're serving in their parishes. They're excelling in their careers. It's really amazing to see how these young people are affecting the culture. 71 schools in operation, 22 plus schools in development. We're in 76 dioceses around the world, serving bishops across the world. And, you know, this year we'll have over 11,000 daily masses that are being offered across the network. And we're also seeing just an incredibly beautiful fruit of vocations. 1 in 8 of the graduates from Chesterton Academy of the Twin Cities, that first school where we had the longest trajectory because they opened in 2008, 1 in 8 of those young men who graduate from that school have gone on to enter seminary or to discern religious life. So we are astonished at just how this model is working, and we're so grateful to the parents who are sacrificing so much to make this education a reality in their area. Now, Chesterton famously said, now don't use this quote incorrectly, he said, if a thing is worth doing, it is worth doing badly. Now, and don't get the wrong idea about what that means. You know, Chesterton was always defending the amateur against the professional. He was always, you know, defending the generalist against the specialist. And, you know, he believed that parents, you know, were the most important unit of society. The family is the most important unit of society. And so, you know, he would encourage us to take back education, to get involved in the education of our young people, of our own children. You know, he would ask us, have we left the things worth doing to others? And parents around the world are saying, you know what? even if I'm not a trained educator or a trained school manager, I'm going to get in and learn how to do it. And that's what we're doing now, teaching people how to start these schools and how to start schools that are excellent, that are characterized by, strong Catholic identity, that daily mass, faithfulness to the magisterium, pro-life commitment, very much involving the family, this beautiful, rich curriculum based on the Catholic intellectual tradition. These are the standards that we're holding the schools to. And this is the model that we take them through, all the way from, discerning whether they should open a school, to preparing all the steps, to welcome people, finding a building, finding a headmaster, to launching, and then every single year being committed to that continuous improvement, serving the bishop with a strong, stable, vibrant, and joyful school. So where are they now? People always ask, where are your alumni today? And I just love sharing this photo because this was the first day of school at Chesterton Academy in the Twin Cities. The students on the stairs there, we had 10 students, 8 were freshmen, so grade 9, and 2 were sophomores. And so a couple years later, we had our first graduating class of 2. We had a young woman and a young man. The young woman went on to have several children, 5 children, and she is raising this beautiful family with her husband in the Midwest of the United States. And the other student happens to be this handsome young man here in the front of this picture. And I always tell people, keep your eye on that young man, because that young man is now Father Joseph Barron. He was our first male graduate of the Chesterton Academy. He was ordained a priest just a few years ago with a wonderful religious order called Pro Ecclesia Sancta out of Peru. And he is based in Detroit, Michigan, where he is such a wonderful help to our school there, Chesterton Academy of Our Lady of Guadalupe. So that is just beautiful. And there's more fruit as well. Here's a picture from just a few weeks ago. Here's our Archbishop, and next to him is Charles DeRill, Chesterton Academy class of 2018. He was just ordained a transitional deacon, and God willing, he will be ordained a priest for the Archdiocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis in a year. So we're just so grateful to the Holy Spirit and to these young men for their vocations. Interestingly, Charlie's younger brother is right there all the way to the left, and he is one of 3 graduates who have gone on to enter the Norbertines. So the Norbertines in California. So we have 3 of our alums there, one of whom is actually in Rome right now studying for the priesthood. This wonderful young man, a spiritual son of ours, just recently entered the novitiate with the Jesuits in Rome. Just a few weeks ago, we learned of a wonderful news that a graduate from our school in Buffalo, New York, that first school to open up outside of the Twin Cities, has discerned a call to the religious life. And so she's now a cloistered nun with the order that Mother Angelica from EWTN started. So much, so many blessings. The Lord is working through these young people. Others are getting married, having families, excelling in their careers. Many students go on to medical field. They serve in the Army. They go on mission. Many students go directly into the trades because that's such a great need. The students have such a wonderful, well-rounded high school experience that they're able to go on to any number of directions after high school. But something that we're really excited about now is just how we've gone beyond the United States. We have a wonderful sister school that miraculously opened the very same year as Chesterton Academy in the US. Chesterton Academy of Italy opened, Scuola Libera Chesterton. the American Chesterton Society president, Dale Ahlquist, and the Italian Chesterton Society president, Marco Sammarini, both opened a Chesterton school in the same fall of 2008. So you know the Holy Spirit is hard at work. Another Chestertonian, John Canu, who studied at Oxford, went on to start Chesterton Academy of Sierra Leone. And these are some of his wonderful students there who had a perfect score on a major exam. So they're doing wonderful things in Sierra Leone. These are students from the Chesterton Academy that we have in Londrina, Brazil. They're just growing like by leaps and bounds. It's so beautiful. That school is actually going to be a K through 12. And here are students from all over the country and others from around the world joining them on pilgrimage in Rome. And where next? Where are we going to be next? Well, we are actually already in Tokyo. We have a wonderful young student named Benji. I will send around pictures of him at a later time. His family and a few others had the great courage of starting Chesterton Academy of Tokyo. And we were just there a couple weeks ago visiting with Benji and his parents, a beautiful family who have sacrificed so much to bring Chesterton Academy to Japan. Benji is doing work studying online with our school in Canada, Chesterton Academy of Isidore, but it is our great hope that with your prayer and your help, we will be able to find a way to either meet in person and have a central Chesterton Academy of Tokyo location, or some kind of hybrid opportunity to involve students from across the country. So it's still early days. But we are so blessed by this incredible family. Another tie back to Oxford, Philomena, the wonderful mom who helped co-found this school, is an Oxford graduate as well. So we have a lot of connections back to G.K. Chesterton's beloved country of England. We have this beautiful heritage of Chestertonians in Japan. With Father Millward. So we're praying for your help, not just for the Chesterton Academy of Tokyo, but we also would love to get a G.K. Chesterton Society started again, picking up where it left off back in the way back when. And we think we have some volunteers who are getting ready to host some local Chesterton Society meetings. So stay tuned for more information on that. But I want to invite you into just staying in touch with the Chesterton Schools Network. You know, we really are just an exciting example of a revival in Catholic education, a renewal in Catholic education. This is a picture of our president and founder, the one who co-founded the first Chesterton Academy, Dale Ahlquist. He is one of the world's foremost scholars and advocate of G.K. Chesterton. And he's a great inspiration to me. He developed the Chesterton curriculum, and he just works tirelessly to promote the work of the Chesterton Schools Network and to really promote the writings of G.K. Chesterton to a world so desperately in need. But in Dale's words, he says, this growing network, the Chesterton Schools Network, is part of a revival in education at the grassroots level that is already starting to restore truth, goodness, and beauty to a world that is starving for it. We have begun rebuilding civilization even as it crumbles around us. And we just want to thank you so much for your prayers, for your interest. I encourage you to learn more about G.K. Chesterton, and I look forward to meeting you in Tokyo one day for the launch of the Chesterton Society of Japan one day. So thank you so much. I'd love to answer any questions people have.
Great. Thank you very much, Emily. Fantastic. It's a really fantastic, positive. I noted you mentioned it quite a few times, the joyful reaction of the students or their persona when they attend the school. So we certainly would like to see joyful faces in Japan too as well, you know. So fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. Well, first, we'd like to invite Miho-san, let's
はい。
invite people
は
to
い。
consider a
そうで
question.
すね。はい。皆様、日本語でも何語でも構いません。エミリー先生に何か質問とかある方は、ぜひ、チャットでも、あと、お声でも手を挙げていただければ、マイク向けます。
And
どう
you
です
can maybe
か？
stop the share, turn on my camera. You can stop the share if you like, Emily, so we can, yeah, there we go. So,
Great.
so anybody, if you'd like to ask a question, now's the chance. Anybody out there that knows of students in the future looking for exciting new ways for education, you're more than welcome to find out more find out more information here, or indeed afterwards you can get in touch with us. I noted that the presentation from Doni before you also highlighted the words truth, goodness, and beauty. It's amazing. There's the Catholic faith really does have this underscoring of these three truths. You know, truth, goodness, and beauty, and that it seems to, I suppose, engender the joyfulness of people.
I believe so. And, I think one of the things that we find is that when students are actively engaged in learning and also creating beauty, they are joyful. We talk a lot about this age of AI. Students today don't have an opportunity to create, and even if you're using prompts to generate images, which is really fun, there's still something about creating art, whether it's singing, whether it's calligraphy, whether it's painting and drawing. G.K. Chesterton says art is the signature of man. So we really, by giving young people the opportunity to create beauty and to experience beauty, we are honoring and respecting the dignity of the human person. And so I would really encourage you to encourage yourself and young people around you to participate in the not only consuming beauty but creating beauty.
The classical education, could you speak a little bit about that as well? The philosophies of the classics that you rightly said earlier that one doesn't normally expect students of a younger age to get into those type of studies, but yet at the same time you can see the reasoning behind it. So could you say a few words on that, please?
Sure. One of the things that really is unusual about Chesterton is that 4 years of philosophy. And I will say that to a student, I ask kids every day, what is your favorite class? Many of them say philosophy. And I think, when they're studying Aristotle and they're learning about, the types of friendship, at a very young age, a freshman year, they're learning about, what are the different types of friendships, friendships of utility, and then they realize that the friendships that are the best for you are friends who help you grow in virtue. So as a ninth grader, as a freshman in high school, they're starting to say, oh, I want to be a friend like that. I want to befriend others who will help me grow in virtue. And then, looking at through the years as they're studying all of the different philosophers and philosophies, they're seeing nihilism. They're seeing everything. They're studying Nietzsche. By senior year, many say it can be very depressing because senior year they are learning all of the modern philosophies. And they learn that Chesterton is the antidote to all those, dangerous nihilistic philosophies. So, we are really excited to see how much young people love to learn philosophy. They love metaphysics. It's not too hard for them. That's another thing in our society. We believe that, young people can't attain this. Well, we know they can. You hold the standards high, you encourage them, and these are not schools for the elite. Neil, these are schools for average students.
Yeah.
Average students. And we are seeing young people flourish and achieve more, and have profound insight in ways that were never expected. Another thing that's interesting, after 4 years of philosophy, learning how to think rationally, they're using philosophy as a tool for evangelization. So they go out and they're not just teaching people, these are the rules of the Catholic faith, the tenets of the Catholic faith. No, they're actually helping people reason through what their own beliefs are. And so we're learning that philosophy has been just an incredible tool to evangelize the world today.
Yeah, it's almost like if you think of St. Augustine, he learned the rhetoric at a very young age. And well, he became a saint. And I noted that in the earlier part of your presentation, you talked about saints, making saints from the students, out of the students, So it seems like you're definitely on the right track with the teaching the philosophies.
And theology, daily mass, in a whole environment where everyone really is trying to strive for virtue.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we're all seeing with this, we're starting to see the shoots, of the faith. Many more people coming to mass. I know even in Japan, we're starting to see more people wanting to be baptized, to come to the church. It's written in the hearts, and young people are starving for this, and they really want it. So we're really excited to see how students are responding to this, and it gives us hope, truly hope for the future of the church.
You give me hope.
We're also educating parents. When you saw that massive decline of Catholic education in the United States, we see that country after country, this massive decline in Catholic education. In the US, we have now a few generations that have not been formed, that have not received this kind of comprehensive Catholic education. They've been robbed of the Catholic intellectual tradition. And so we have a chance now to educate and evangelize parents and grandparents. So these kids are the conduit for, evangelizing the home.
Excellent. I think, I'm not sure. Donny, do you have a question? Your hand is raised, and I actually had muted you during the presentation because I think there was some background noise. But Donny, are you able to unmute? I'm not sure if you want to ask. Oh, there you are. Yeah, good man. Did you have a question, Donny? I wasn't sure. I saw that the hand was raised.
Yeah, no, I was just really inspired by it.
All right.
The talk, and my father founded a school in Dublin, the Rockbrook Park School for Opus Dei, with the same impulse, and Rosemount, the girls' school. And that inspired me to found the Irish Academy of Figurative Art and the Sacred Art School in Florence, and the school here in Virginia. And one thing I noticed that one of the reasons I found the school here in Virginia was to give a telos for young Catholic high school students who want to study art but don't have a place to go to, because a lot of parents discourage them from going into art because, from my experience, art school is a disaster. I wouldn't recommend any art school, actually, because they're so bad. So I'm interested in how you direct these kids to higher levels of education that will continue their formation in the faith.
Yes, and in a virtuous environment.
Yes, yeah.
Some of our kids do go on to, all the famous music schools and art schools, but we have a wonderful kind of relationship with the Atelier in the United States, so kids are able to continue on. They get to know the local ateliers in the Twin Cities, for example, and they continue on after school there. Many young people are going right into parish cantoring, They're leading the scholas. They're teaching. It's really quite beautiful. They're teaching music. They're teaching chant. They go on to many of the Catholic universities in the United States, like Ave Maria, University of Mary, Benedictine. They have strong sacred music programs, and so they can get a degree in those programs and then go on and teach in the parishes. It's quite remarkable how they're able to serve the church in that way, and we are seeing a resurgence of that sacred liturgy. Because so many kids are able to pass that on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, we really need to do some collaboration.
Yeah,
and we are very inspired. Of course, we are very inspired by Opus Dei, and we love to think of Saint Jose Maria and G.K. Chesterton together, encouraging us. I think they have so much in common. They both were ahead of their time. Before Vatican II, they were encouraging the laity, to be involved. They were encouraging the laity to make the everyday holy, and so we are very, very inspired by the great work of the many Opus Dei schools around the world, and good friends with that movement.
Wonderful. Well done. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Wow. To you as well.
Well, I thought there was a remarkable similarity in the vocabulary that and the grammar that Tony was using, and the words that you were using to describe the philosophy of the Chesterton School. So hopefully you'll have collaboration between your good selves going forward.
Amen. Yes, let's.
Yeah.
Bravo.
So again, Neil is hugging the microphone. So if there's anybody out there who would like to ask a question, I see some hearts. There have been lots of hands and waves and hearts have been flying throughout the presentation, Emily. So that's been...
Oh, how wonderful.
どうですか、皆様、何か質問の方はいらっしゃいませんか？今、私も先生の、学校の紹介見せてもらって、本当に理想的な学校があるんだなっていうのを見て、私も入りたくなりましたね。何か本当にお手伝いできるなら、いや、本当に見てて、司祭たちも出てきてるし、本当に昇進学校のようだし、本当に神を、先ほどのドニーさんもそうですけど、芸術ってなると、どうしてもなんか神抜きが今すごい流行ってますけど、でもやっぱり本当の芸術家、本当の最初のクリエイターは神ですから、神は一番いいものを、美しいものを作ってくださる。そして私たちもそれにのっとった美しい芸術家であれば、本当にみんなを喜ばせることもできるし、そしてその元気とか美しさとか、そして何よりも神を第一にしないとその真理が入ってこないですよね。で、神を第一にすれば本当に幸せが来るので、やっぱりそういう中で育ってくれる人、協力する先生たち、周りの親とか、みんなでその神の国をこの世で準備していけたらいいなって思ってます。ぜひ皆さんもご協力ね、してくださる方は積極的に言われてから動くんじゃなくて、自分から積極的にね、ちょっと協力しますよって言っていただければ、日本もまた学校がちょっと早くスタートできるんじゃないでしょうか。楽しみにしております。はい。皆様どうですか？協力してくださる方。そして、
Anthony has his hand raised.
はい。
Anthony, you're clear to talk, and welcome, and thank you for joining as you do every year our conference.
So I did really enjoy the presentation, and it gave me like a brand new perspective on like Catholic education. It's just because sorry. So it gave me a new perspective on how I view Catholic education, with all those curriculum and learning from, values of G.K. Chesterton and, Catholic values. Because going to, I went to public high school here in America for all 4 years of my, back as a teenager, and even though I had a good education, I kind of feel like there was something missing, and I wasn't even religious at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to high school here in like one of the most liberal areas in the country, which is in the SF Bay area.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was also a student of public school. I went to public school myself, Anthony, in Minnesota, and back in the 1980s. And when I heard about Chesterton, I'll tell you a little bit about how we got involved in it and how my own experience in the public school in the United States impacted it. We were desperately trying to find something else for our son because he was really not doing well in the public school system. Not only was it coarse and there was a lot of bullying going on, he wasn't learning anything. He was going to a very prestigious classical charter school, but he really wasn't being challenged intellectually. And I felt very badly because I knew he could do much more. And someone told us about this little one-room schoolhouse called Chesterton Academy. And they said, would you be willing to send your kid to a Catholic school? And I was Protestant. And my husband's from Argentina, and Catholic education has a very, very good reputation in Argentina. He became a Christian through the Catholic Church in Argentina. And Catholic education had a good reputation in the U.S. as well. And so we said, yeah, we'd be interested. And so I called my mom up, and she's in her 80s. And I said, Mom, this school sounds like it could really challenge my son, because I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like I was very poorly educated in the 1980s in the United States. And, I always envied my mother because she was educated in the 1950s in the public school where it was very challenging. And they were studying Shakespeare, they were studying math and science and poetry and recitation and history. And that's not done anymore in typical high schools. So, it was my own kind of envy at my mom's excellent education that, kind of inspired me to send our son to Chesterton. But the interesting thing she said to me, and she wasn't Catholic either. She said, a little Aristotle, a little Aquinas, that'll be good for your son. You should send him to Chesterton Academy. So I think, everyone kind of knows that Catholic education is helps you think, helps you, kind of move beyond the very poor quality of material that's covered in the public school. And within a couple of weeks, our son came home and he was explaining to us things that he learned in philosophy and in theology and what he had learned at daily mass. And we saw this curriculum face to face and we were astonished. But more importantly, we saw his faith come alive. And our entire family converted to Catholicism in 2010, one by one, because of the experience the academic and the spiritual formation our son had received at Chesterton Academy. So it's really amazing. There's so much more. The curriculum can be so much richer than what is being offered in the public school. But the problem is most parents in the United States still would rather send their child to a big public high school that looks like the movies, High School Musical. That's what they want for their kids. So we have a lot of work to do to educate parents and students. What is the real meaning of high school, And so there's education that needs to occur to help people realize how important these 4 years of high school are. They're the most important years of formation. We are finding college is too late, almost too late now in the United States.
I agree with you. So, but because I'm going to public high school for 4 years, I've learned some good things here and there. But looking back, almost a decade after graduating back in 2016, I kind of feel like there is something missing.
Well, Anthony, I just want you to know secretly, I'll just tell you, nobody else should hear this, but this is a very elaborate scheme to get Chesterton Academy started for adult education because I want to go back to high school. I think there's something to this chronological, 4-year step through history and philosophy and literature and having this integrated approach. So that's my dream. I will tell you that.
Yes,
someday.
and going back to your previous comment because because from my experience, it does feel like I'm going to like your typical American high school you see in those Hollywood movies.
Right. Well, we know that young people around the world, we know in Japan, there's a lot of depression. A lot of kids just don't want to go to high school. They're not happy. They feel they're being bullied. They're not being respected by their classmates. They're not being respected by their teachers. So we have an opportunity not just to form, to form high school students, but we have to form the teachers first and foremost. They are the formators. They are the ones that need to be Christ in the classroom. And so there's a whole lot of formation that needs to take place so that students really flourish in high school. So we're very hopeful for that future, and we really are excited to see that take place in Japan. And Anthony, we have many schools in California, so I encourage you to go visit St. James, Chesterton Academy of St. James in Menlo Park. You'll enjoy visiting.
I haven't heard that school before because I know the other Catholic high schools like say Archbishop Mitty in San Jose or Canyon Heights in Campbell. Have you heard of them before?
Yeah, this is a very, very small school located on the old grounds of the old seminary. So go visit it. You'll fall in love.
I'll look it up. Thank you very much.
Great,
Thank you, Anthony.
thanks.
Good job. Well done. Thank you. So I think we are now getting ready to be welcoming our third speaker. So we'd like to see the hearts coming up. Thank you very much, Emily, for putting together a wonderful presentation, for telling us much more about the Chesterton School Network and indeed the background. And of course, it's always nice to hear Chesterton himself and the stories. I read a little bit myself a few years ago, and he's an inspiring man, and I believe there's talk to try and have him beatified or even canonized in the future. So that would be amazing. But indeed, thank you again very much, Emily. So I hope we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we'll be hearing some more positive developments for school in Japan.
Wonderful. God bless you all. Thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
ありがとうございます。